Okay, Common Core Algebra 2. Today we're going to start looking at graphing lines. The first lesson, most of this will probably just be a review again for you too. You've definitely seen slope-intercept before, and you've probably definitely graphed with the table, and you've probably actually have seen horizontal and vertical lines too. So to start us off, graphing an equation using a table, this process is just 3 easy steps. You're going to create a table and choose x values. Now, the table I'm going to show us has 5 values. You're going to need at least 2 x values, but I'll show you 5 just to give you a good idea of how the table is going to behave. And then you're going to complete the table in step 2. And what this means is plug in your x values and plug in and solve for y. So remember, we need an x and a y value, and what that does is create points. So we're going to have points that are both have an x and y. We're going to plot those points, and then we're going to draw our line. An example would look like an equation 3x minus 2y, and now this is something called standard form, which we'll actually talk more about in part 2, but really you could do this with any form. You can always do a table. Choose some x values, and really, to be honest, you could choose x or y values and just solve for the other one. I'm going to choose an x value of -3, which is going to give us a y value when we plug it in -7.5, and then I'm going to do that 4 more times with different values. And you notice that I've kind of chosen values that increase here, and also some that are negative, 0, and some that are positive. And once we have that, we're just going to plot those points. So -3, -7.5, which tells me to go in between -7 and -8. I'm going to put that point. -1, -4.5, and plot there, 0, -3, 1, -1.5, and then 5 way out here and up there at 4.5. And then I'm going to draw my line. So I want to make sure that I have arrows on both ends. I'm going from one point all the way through the other point, and that will give us our line. And there you go. Okay, so we're just taking x values, we're choosing x values, plugging them in, plotting our points, and drawing our line. A slope-intercept, another form that you have seen before that we probably remember. Y equals mx plus b is our form. And remember, m is always the slope, b is always the y-intercept. So if we look at 2 examples here for this first one, our slope is -3. And remember, we've also talked about slope as being rise over run. So a lot of times we're going to rewrite that as -3 over 1, so that we remember our rise is -3 and our run is 1. So that would be down 3, right 1. And then our b value, or our y-intercept, is 2. Okay, and the next one, we already have it as a fraction, so we see we are up 3, right 5. We can always do the opposite too. Down 3, left 5. So we have to switch both of those. And your y-intercept is -8. Okay, so none of that has been new for us. This too will be a review. When we graph slope-intercept, we always want to start with the y-intercept. Remember, that is your b value. So if it's negative, we're going to be below on the y-axis. If it's positive, we're above on the y-axis. Remember, y-intercept just means value on the, or where the line crosses the y-axis. After we have that, we're going to plot our second point using our slope. And remember, we use our slope from b. Okay, so we start at b, and then we either go up and right, or down and left, or we could go up and left, or down and right. And then finally, we're going to have 2 points in, so we'll have a y-intercept, we'll have a second point from our slope. We're going to connect the points with a line. Our example, then, we already said our b value is 2, and that's what we want to start with. So I'm going to plot a point at 2, and we adjusted this to say it was -3 over 1. So I'm going to go down 3, right 1, and then I could do that as many times as I want. I could go down 3 and right 1 again. We can also do the opposite. So instead of going down and right, we can go up 3 and then left 1, up 3 and then left 1. Another thing to keep in mind, typical question, this negative does not apply to both the 3 and the 1. It applies to one or the other. We've got all our points then, so the only thing we need to do is draw the line that's going to connect all of those points, and we would be done graphing then. Okay. So the only other thing we have to talk about are horizontal and vertical lines. So horizontal lines are always moving left to right. They have no x-intercepts, and they are always going to have the form y equals b, and this b is just some number. Okay, and it's going to be your y-intercept in this case. So whatever your y-intercept, that's where your line goes through. 2 examples, y equals 2 would just be the green line we have where it's horizontal, goes through the value at 2, and keeps going on forever. You notice it never crosses the x-axis. Or y equals 0.5, we want to go in between 0 and 1, and we would graph our line right there in red, 0.5. A vertical line then, the opposite, remember the slope here is undefined. It's only going to move up and down. It's going to have no y-intercepts, it'll only have x-intercepts. And it's always going to be x equals b, where b is, again, just some number. Two examples of that, x equals 7, so we'd be going vertically through 7, and negative 5.5, so I'm going to go in between negative 5 and negative 6, and I'm going to plot the line in red there. Okay, so that is it for this lesson. Table, we just choose x values, solve for the y values. Slope intercept, we're going to find our intercept first, plot that, then use your slope from b, up and down, up or down, left or right, plot your second point, draw your line. Horizontal lines always left and right, vertical lines always up and down. See you guys next time.